Welcome back, everybody, to the All Things NBA from A to Z podcast presented by Ball is Life. I'm Chris Persianen here alongside Zach Noble, excited, ready to break down game 3 of the 2024 NBA Finals. 106-99, Boston Celtics, your final score. Zach, takeaways just right on the surface from this game 3.
It was a great game. I mean, it's very underrated. I thought people,
I loved it. I loved it.
yeah, I thought people ruled it out way too early. I thought, uh, just even the finished product, people weren't too impressed with. I mean, we got a lot of high arc. We got the Mavs in the first half looking like they were going to make it a series and take one pretty easily in quarters 1 and 2. And then the Celtics exploded in the third, and everybody thought they were running away with it. And then the Mavs tightened it up at the end, and they didn't look like a bunch of bitches, and they tightened it up. Like, it was fun. Mainly that first quarter, Luka came out looking like himself, and Kyrie finally decided to come out to play in the finals. And it was amazing. Started out with a Luka step back three on the wing and got rolling from there.
Kyrie Irving led the Dallas Mavericks in scoring with 35 points. And if I'm not mistaken, he led the whole game in scoring. That was a game high 35 in 45 minutes. 2 assists from him as well. Luka with 27, 6, and 6, but he fouled out with 4 minutes to go. I want to know how the hell he fouled out playing the defense that he did all game. Like, dude, at least make him worth it, right? And then I think the fact that he looked right at the refs and did the money sign and accused them of the game being rigged because they fouled him out. Like, bro, let's take 2 seconds. If the NBA was trying to optimize profits, they would want the series extended, not for you to drop a game at home and make it a 3-0 lead, which we know nobody has ever come back from. So that's silly of him. On the Celtics side, Tatum, Brown, 31 and 30 respectively, but it was Jaylen Brown, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, who was the real star player of the game in general, in my
Oh, come
opinion.
on.
Dude,
I mean, first
30 and 8 assists.
let's talk about Luka there. I mean, here's the thing. I wish they would have reversed that call at the end to keep him in when the game was close, but that was definitely a foul. I mean, I wanted
It's
the
it's
drama.
definitely a foul, but you shouldn't call it if you want to be
Right.
honest.
I mean, the series is over by taking him out of the game. That ended the series right then and there. The refs decided it. You could have decided it back, which was great about the challenge being implemented. Sure, I'm literally saying on the record, let's cheat to keep the Mavericks in the series. But hey, um, I feel like things are worse and they cheat all the time from time to time. So why not here? But anyways, Luca's, I mean, fouls for the most part. I'd say 3 or 4 of them were pretty bad. His defense overall was just
Yeah, it
garbage.
comes from lazy defense and then just fouling to try and do something, look like he's doing something, but he really has to watch that because he lost his team the game last night, and I'm comfortable saying that, and not just with that foul.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 fouls from behind the arc early in the game. I think it was first quarter, and those were stupid in general, and that's what helped get the Celtics back in the first quarter. Um, Luca, man, he's got a lot of PR to work on right now because I mean, it's being on full display. Um, his, I mean, just softness, his um, problem with his arguments with the referees, his disagreements, and it's just nonstop. And he did so good. I want to credit him because he did so good rounds 1 and 2. His defense looked a little better, and then it started to regress in round 3 a little bit. And maybe it was his injuries catching up with him, but I mean, I'm not gonna put it on that. He's out there doing everything at his peak, like he hasn't been able, I don't think his injuries have held him back at all. So I'm not gonna count that. It doesn't fly with me. But I mean, are you giving him a pass at all, or
If you're
are you
playing,
giving
if
him
you're
any
playing, you're
benefit
playing.
of the doubt?
If you're playing, you're playing. We need to stop this
I
dude.
mean, I can name a
They
couple
did this.
instances where I
They
give
did
guys
this
passes.
Dude, they did this with Halliburton the whole playoffs. Oh, and we need to respect what he's doing because he's hurt. And then he would have a bad game, and it's like, oh, it's fine because he's hurt. And then he'd have a good game, and it would be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's so awesome and he's doing this while he's hurt. Like, at some point, if a guy's playing, he's playing. Jalen Brunson doesn't even acknowledge that he's injured. He's like, I felt like I was good enough to play, so I should be judged like I was good enough to play. Like, he doesn't even want that people to shoot him that bail. He's not faking injuries at the podium, coming out in the cast or something like LeBron after that finals. It's just um, you can learn a lot about someone when they are setting up excuses for themselves. It's like some guys, the crazies, right? Like they want any motivation they can get. They don't want people knowing they're hurt because they want to be judged as if they're not. They want that hate. They want that motivation, right? Think about Kobe. Think about, LeBron coming to
I
the
mean,
Heat.
LeBron talks about his injuries. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but no,
He'll make it
I'm saying
known.
no, I'm saying think about when LeBron got Heat and they're playing Dallas in the playoffs and he's like basically letting everyone know ahead of the series he's hurt. But then Dirk plays a game sick and him and D Wade are making fun of it, saying it was a fake cold. Like what, you know what I mean? Like those are the guys that want to have it one way. I'll side with the guys who want to have it the other.
No, that's fair. No, there's very few instances where I don't give guys I mean, where I give guys a pass. I mean, Isaiah Thomas was one of them where he started to struggle late in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then he just wasn't able to play anymore. Like, um, couple of instances like that, but I'm not gonna name them all right now. Um, I want to shout out quarter one. I mean, the paint touches are what got the Mavs going. I said it last show. Gafford and Lively had to start rolling. They fed him the ball. They were dominating the paint. That's what helped get him the big lead. Um, Tatum was really even keel and just stayed smart and intelligent. He's the reason why they even had a chance in this game and brought him back in it. He
He
had a
does
couple of
what
nice
he does what they
bounces.
need him to do. He does what they need
Right.
him to do.
But the shots started falling. He had a couple big threes in quarter one. And when the team was shooting literally 22 percent from three at the moment. And then Sam Hauser, man, he had some massive two-way minutes in quarters one and two. He had, I don't know, I think three threes in the game total. But I mean, he was excellent in that first half. And kudos to Joe Missoula sticking with them and rolling it out. But um, man, Kyrie cooled off. Kyrie cooled off. He looked like he was going to have a massive Kyrie game and he was going to win on one here. But I mean, he did the opposite of what Kyrie's been doing the rest of the playoffs. I mean, great first half, decent third, and then kind of fell apart.
Yeah, and I think, you saw a little microcosm of that when Luka fouled out. First offensive possession, Kyrie, aggressive to the ball, aggressive drive, pulls up, fading at the mid range, at the elbow, cash. Okay, Mavericks only down by a possession or two. They're in this game even without Luka. Are they going to pull out the miracle at home? Boom. PJ Washington called for that offensive foul. Um, and there went all the momentum. You watched it on the TV fly out the arena. Like it's just not something that you survive when you're already in a situation where you need to be perfect. You have no margin. Now, you talked about 3-point shooting. Dallas, 9 of 25 for 36% for the game. Boston, 17 of 46 for 37%. So if you're looking at percentages, you're not seeing the full story. Boston was chucking those things up and hitting them. They are such a talented team. Neither team left points at the free throw line. This was just an example of the Boston Celtics being a well-rounded team, having guys like Sam Hauser and Xavier Tillman Sr., shout out his three-pointer, to come in and play when you need minutes. Dallas, guys like Derrick Jones Jr., your starter, scoring 2 points and grabbing 3 boards. Like there's just a difference here. Tim Hardaway Jr., they dusted him off like you wanted. What did I try to tell you about that guy, man? 19 minutes, 3 rebounds, 0 points, 0 assists. He cannot play in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they gave him more run. They needed to. I mean, they would start the game like 1 for 11 from three. And the looks, honestly, like I mentioned this last game, you had to put the ball in Kyrie's hands more. And they did that a little bit and they went away from it. I think the ball movement was way better when Kyrie brought the ball up the court. The looks just weren't great, but yeah, Timmy wasn't good. I would have benched him after the first couple attempts and 10 minutes or whatever, and I would have went to Dante Exum. I mean, defensively, they needed him. Even Jaden Hardy, like um, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleba, I would have benched both those guys. They went way.
Can't play Kleba. Can't play Kleba. And Exum was the guy, man. He scored 2 points all game. They were the coolest 2 points anyone has scored this entire
That's
series.
hilarious.
I'm not saying those that's a reason to play him more, but his defense, he's a pro, right? Like he played overseas. He has the experience and he's played a bunch of years in the NBA. He has a defensive reputation. Tim Hardaway Jr. has a defensive reputation too, but not for a good reason.
Yeah, I mean, Lively and Gafford gave him great minutes. Lively 11 and 13, two steals as well. But why don't you just run with them for 35 plus minutes? Like, if Washington's not hitting it and you're not going to get the ball movement you need, that's been the Mavericks' biggest tell and why I think a lot of it's on Jason Kidd and Luka more than anything is because they're sticking to this ISO play. Uh,
Oh,
you
let's
can beat
talk
any team
about it.
with ball movement. I
Let's
mean, they
go to the stat
literally
sheet.
5 assists in the first quarter, and then to the Celtics like 11. And then it ended. What was the total here? It
And
was
Boston had
26 to
26
15.
and
Yeah,
Dallas had 15. That's what I'm saying. Let's go to the stat sheet. And they had the same amount of turnovers each team, but Boston 11 more assists.
it was much better on the first couple rounds. I don't know what. I mean, they just got nervous after getting down in the series or something, and Luka reverted back. I mean, he got lazy. I don't know. But I mean, it all comes down to Luka and Jason Kidd. There's no other way. Like nobody else is responsible for getting the team looks and getting them going. They aren't. Like I mean, Kyrie Irving, but they haven't put the ball in his hands like they should. Also, Kyrie Irving started getting downhill. That was it. It took him way too long. He had like I don't know, two free throw attempts in the first couple games, um, and then he finally got going in the third, and then yeah, I mean, then he stopped again. I mean, you got to keep attacking the rim when the Celtics were giving it to him too, especially when the three's not falling.
He has the threat of the pull up, which makes him so deadly. Like, dude, he's one of the best finishers at the rim in terms of just, I hate to add on to this narrative, but pure skill, right? However you want to say it. And then he's got the pull up. The mid range is a layup for the guy. He can attack aggressively. And when he does, good things happen. But even in the fourth quarter when Luka was still in, it looked a little bit like he didn't want the ball that bad. And then of course he tried the WWE three-pointer from the same spot as the Warriors series, and that didn't go over well. Of course, if he makes that shot, we might be having a totally different conversation right now. Oh, can Dallas climb back into this series? Now they're only down 2-1. They just got to win another at home. We're tied at 2, and everyone wrote them off, but they didn't. And Luka fouled out of the NBA Finals in a game where he was playing negative defense. So we're having the conversation that we're having.
Nobody gave Luka his credit when it was decent defense. I mean, sure, a couple big names did. Zach Lowe mentioned it a few times, but like it's never been great. And like that's what's always held. Like, do you agree Nikola Jokic is a plus defender? A pretty good one?
Um, in clutch time, in crunch time, he is a good defender. He is a plus
In
defender
the
in crunch
playoffs.
time.
He's always a good defender, I think.
Over the course of the 48, I don't know if I would go as far as to say plus. I would say he's
Yeah.
fine, not a negative. In crunch time, he's a plus because he locks in, and he's a big dude.
Right, but the whole game, it's 48 minutes for a reason. I mean, you can put yourself in too big of a deficit where crunch time doesn't necessarily matter. So I guess we'll disagree on that a bit. But I think, yes, he's light years better than Luka, but I mean, I'd still always say Jokic, at least this year, I think he has been a plus defender.
He's
Um,
impressed.
I
He's shown
gives
up.
and that's the biggest difference. And I said before the series, like if Luca came out, averaged 35, 40, kept this thing like 4-2 or even ended up winning, he could become the best player in the league. And because of his defense, I mean, not even close anymore. Um, it is what it is, but Some people still push back because they don't think Jokic's defense is very good. But I also think the Wolves are like the only other team besides the Celtics that would have give the Nuggets fits. Like I truly think if like there's plenty of people out there that say the Timberwolves would have gave the Celtics more fits. I don't think so. I think the Celtics would be doing this to the Timberwolves too. I think the Nuggets,
You've been consistent in that also, even as a Wolves fan, so I respect it. I think the Nuggets would have had a fighting chance.
yes, that's the only team I think. But the thing is, like that a lot of people don't talk about either, is Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. weren't very good. So it's that would need to have changed in order for them to have a fighting chance. But from the facts that we know, I think Boston would have just ran anybody. They're playing so well as a team, man. I mean, this is like 2014 San Antonio Spurs type stuff. I think it's that good. Like defensively, man, these guys are so locked in. Drew and White, and even Tatum, more so
That
in the
that Spurs
post.
team beats this Boston team in a series. Do
Ooh,
you
I don't
agree?
think so. I think it's very, very close.
Oh my gosh.
I think you get more out of Tatum and Brown because you have to. I think just because it's closer.
Who do the
I'm okay if
Mavericks
you
or
think
Nuggets have that defends like Kawhi Leonard?
who the Mavericks or Nuggets have that. I'm talking Celtics, Spurs.
I know.
That's all I'm
I'm
saying.
saying the Spurs would bring a different aspect to this series, defending on the wing and the perimeter, defending against JB and JT,
Right.
because they'd have Kawhi, and then they'd have so many steady offensive hands. But there's another wing that's a problem too, and I want to talk about him, Jaylen Brown. Man, you tried poo pooing him earlier when I said he was the real star of the game.
No, I was just poo-pooing that you hating on Jayson Tatum. Yeah, Jaylen Brown's my finals MVP right now, and uh,
Okay. I wasn't
he
hating
closed
on
this thing
Tatum.
out.
I defended Tatum when he had like
Okay.
16 points, but Jaylen Brown had damn near a triple double with 30 points. And I know points aren't everything. Tatum has shown that by consistently making the right play. But 38 and 8 in the finals for Jaylen Brown, to me, another example of NBA fans conflating overpaid with overrated and deciding that a guy is bad because he gets paid a super mega million max deal. Jaylen Brown is shutting everyone up, right? Like, remember how easy it was to go viral? Like, you would just post someone unable to do something with their left hand and be like, Jaylen Brown in the playoffs. And everyone was like, ha, 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 like, retweet. Dude, that's over. He's hooping.
Do you think it's more than I mean his dribbling though? Like I think his left hand's actually really improved.
It has, but
Yeah.
also like he's got a mid-range game that he's using in crunch time to close out a series pretty much. That's what star players do.
Yes, he's grown definitely. He's gotten a lot better, but like he's not that much better than what he's been at like at his peak. It's just he's way more consistent now. He's way more confident. He's way more clutch. Uh, he's all around just yeah more consistent than anything. Like his peak isn't far off than what it's been. Is what I'm trying to say here.
Okay, I understand,
Like
but
his lows were really low in the past few
yeah.
playoffs. That's that's the biggest change. And like his ceiling as a top 15 player, that's about still what it is. I don't think he's like exceeding that. And the Celtics, when it comes down to his contract, like somebody else was probably going to pay him. They're not attracting a lot of people through free agency necessarily. Maybe now they might, but like I think they needed to resign him for that regardless. Like, I don't think they had a choice. So it's not like whether you think there's like five people worth that contract, the Celtics, he's worth it to them. And he's proven that now because they're going to win a damn title.
Uh yeah.
You're trying to
Yeah,
find something
but
to disagree with, but
no, I'm having a separate thought about
because I personally think like,
how Brown looks against a team like Minnesota, where they have a Jaden McDaniels, where they have Gobert. Like I don't know. I think this is a great matchup for Boston. I think Boston matches up great against Dallas. You look before the series, 89% of the bets on Dallas to win the series. Vegas did not move the line a half point on the series. Like they were big on Boston because this is a great matchup for Boston. So, yes, Jaylen Brown is a star. We know that. Yes, he's an all-star. We know that. He is a really good player. We know that. He is showing he's a great player. Some have known that, some have disputed it. It's less up to debate now, but I'm just thinking against how many other teams does he have the kind of performance he had last night? Um I don't know. I don't know.
I do think people are underrating this Mavs supporting cast, Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. But at the end of the day, regardless of how good, say those guys were playing as good as they have been the rest of the playoffs. Yes, they're not playing great right now. They aren't. But that's not why they're losing either. They're losing because of their stars. They're losing because of the stars getting these guys in the positions to succeed. Like their defense kept them in most of the game last night. And yes, it's really hard to hold off the Celtics from catching fire like they did in that third quarter. And that ball movement, like that was peak. That's why the Mavs couldn't hang on because they don't
And
have that ball
and
movement.
that's who the Celtics are too. Like eight Boston Celtics made 100 threes this year. Eight
Yeah.
Boston Celtics made 100 threes this year.
They even
That's
got
the
Xavier
spacing.
Tillman, first three of the playoffs in the
Yeah,
third.
man. That's the spacing they have. That's the spacing. And so um I can't say that this team isn't just really great, but I also, it's there, two things can always be true. Is my only point. But Jaylen Brown Finals MVP. We agree thus far that that's what's going on here.
Tatum almost took it last night. Like not fully, I mean, but took the
But
lead.
yeah, exactly. Like made it,
If
equal.
right.
Off the court. What do we think about coaching here? Kid, Missoula. Let's start with the timeout. Okay, Dallas is on a what, 22-2 run, and Kid calls timeout to stop his own team's momentum. Like, what what was that? Let's start there.
Yeah, that was brutal. Jayson Kidd, like I said, it comes down to the getting the ball in the right places. I mean, he literally just let Luka do whatever he wanted to do, and it didn't work a lot of the time. I mean, Luka's shooting pretty poor percentages for the most part. And like I said, I wanted the ball in Kyrie Irving's hand, and I thought the ball movement was a lot better there. And you just kept running with Tim Hardaway Jr. for 20 minutes, Maxi Kleber when you got only Derek Lively playing 19 minutes. Like,
But he played 30 last night, didn't he? So there's no restriction. Am I crazy?
no, Lively only played
He played 30 minutes last night.
29, but in the playoffs, you can play 35 plus. Gafford only played 16, is where I was getting
Okay. So there's
caught up.
there's Lively's minutes. That's where they came from. Um but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
Gafford's only averaging 21, man, in the playoffs, and Lively's not much higher.
well, are you going to play them together? Would you be playing them
I
together
mean,
at the 4 and 5?
not ideally, not
No, and
ideally,
not
but I
against a Boston group with this kind of spacing. So no matter what, their minutes are going to add up to nothing more than 48. Last night they added up to 46. I don't know.
but why not
Actually,
put Lively on frickin' one of the wings or whoever that Luca
that's
would guard, and then
Boston's
put Luca on
created,
Al Horford?
but Boston wants that. Boston wants Lively out of the paint. That's the advantage they've been looking to create all series, dude, is bringing Lively out of the paint, up with the wing on the perimeter, and leaving the paint wide open so that when Tatum drives in, he collapses the defense and he's got seven teammates open for three. You're playing into their hand. This is what Boston wants.
Yeah, I mean, kid's just not doing anything though. I mean, what do you think you should be doing that I'm not?
Trying to stay in the paint and switching less because they're switching everything and they're switching too much. And as a result, they're letting Lively get stranded out there. And I know Mark Jackson's not on the coverage anymore, but it's a lot of Derek Lively. Can I have this dance on the perimeter?
Right.
So, and if it's not, Tatum or Brown is driving in and kicking to the right guy, and Drew or Derek or Sam or freaking Xavier at this point is hitting an open three ball. So for me, you're playing right into Boston's hand by putting Lively out on the perimeter. That's the last thing you want to do. That's the first thing you want to avoid if you're Dallas. So if you're
And they
Jason
just saw
Kidd,
it with Rudy Gobert. Like,
yeah, yeah. So if you're Jason Kidd, you
figure it
don't want to
out.
play into that. You want to not be playing Jaden Hardy 4 minutes, Tim Hardaway Jr. 19. Those 23 minutes need to be punted, strapped to a rocket ship, and sent out of this universe. Dante Exum, can he play more than 3 minutes next game? Maybe that's the adjustment. Moxie Kleber playing 8 minutes. Give those minutes to Gafford and Lively, right? Like, go small if you need to. The Boston's playing 5 out and they're killing you with it. 5 out isn't everything in the world, but it's a look that you've got to have in your arsenal. And Boston's using it, and there's no counter. It's like they're playing rock, paper, scissors. Boston is going scissors every single time, and Dallas is like, paper. Okay, what about this time? Paper. Okay. Okay, that didn't work. Paper. Like, it's insanity. Definition. You got to switch it up, and you can't switch it up by putting one of the worst defenders in the NBA who had zero. Let me run this back for you. 0 points and 0 assists in 19 minutes in Tim Hardaway Jr. Do not dust him off. That is not going to help either. You set them up, man. I bet Kid heard you on the last show. He said, all right, I'll give this Zach guy a shot. 106.99. Boston Celtics go up 3-0.
No, I was okay with them. They just how long they had him out. They needed to try him out. They
Nasty,
needed something.
nasty.
Their
No,
three
they
ball
didn't. They
wasn't
they don't
falling.
need to try out a terrible
Josh
player
Josh
on a
Green,
finals
Dante
level.
Exum. I mean,
I love Tim Hardaway
they're giving him
Jr.,
more production.
but relatively to these other Mavericks and these Celtics in these finals, he can't play. He can't be
No,
playing.
we know that now, but I
But
mean,
we knew,
Josh.
we knew. I knew that. I told you that 3 days ago. We knew
But
that.
that was hypothetical.
No,
Pretty much of a
uh,
guess.
no, uh, uh. Not
They
with
still
these
haven't figured out anything, so they need to go
X's
with
and
Josh
O's,
Green
my
or Dante
friend.
X.
Green is shrinking to the moment. So eggs him. Like next man up, right? But next man up can't be Tim. And we've talked about this.
And Max, he's got to see.
Fine, exactly. Final question for you, Zach. The legacy, the big L word of Jayson Tatum, of Jaylen Brown, of Drew Holiday, of Kristaps Porzingis. How are these affected? Like, how are we talking about Tatum and Brown after this win? Because I'm not gonna sit here and say Dallas looks like they're coming back from 3-0.
I would say Brown, I mean, definitely goes up a decent amount, especially with the finals MVP uh, on his mantle. I would say Drew Holiday, I mean, it can only boost him higher. I mean, it's kind of funny. Draymond came out on his podcast and he's like, oh, the Milwaukee Bucks should have figured out how to pair Drew and Damian Lillard. Oh, dude, shit don't work like that. It's Fantasy Island. I mean, that was how it had to happen. But Drew Holiday, I feel like he's found a home. Hopefully, they just keep going with this and maybe tinker with Kristaps if anything because of the injury. And they realize, I mean, money wise, and they can boost their bench going forward. But that's the only guy I'd say that might be in question for the long run. But the legacy is going to be going for a long time now with this title. So it's just the beginning. Being if they would have lost this, there'd been more talk and it heated up about Tatum and Brown splitting up again. But these guys are coexisting better than ever because Tatum's really developed playmaking and learned to pick his spots so much better now than ever. Jaylen Brown isn't making a bunch of dumb turnovers, and he's also fitting into the system. Like this is the most polished they've ever been uh, as a unit, and it can only get better from here. Like you got perfect connectors in Derek White and Drew Holiday. Uh, Derek White is what he is. I don't think his
He's
legacy is going to
good.
be.
Oh, there's no. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean he'd need to win.
legacy.
He'd need to win a ton of titles, like three or so, to
He's,
be have like a massive legacy type of thing.
no, but I
Uh,
think he's in that now. He's put himself in that like Danny Green discussion, and maybe he's even better, right? But that discussion
better,
of
better.
like definitely better. That discussion of like oh, this guy keeps appearing on championship teams, or this guy is someone you want on a good team. Will a team that's not good give him a bag at some point in his career? We'll see. But that's for, sports talk shows on Monday morning when they've got nothing else to say. Right now, I want to ask about Jayson Tatum. Even if he doesn't win this finals MVP, man, he's shown a level of play that's good enough to win the championship. This makes me ask about team building in general. Do you think teams nowadays, if they have a spread out amount of talent like the Celtics do they need a typical like 1A that can carry the team, or is Boston's style of play sharing is caring? Is it going to be the new blueprint?
I mean, that's the right question to ask because teams are always mimicking each other after a
Exactly.
championship and trying to figure this out. But here's the thing: Tatum is good enough. I mean, he can have his big moments. They haven't needed him to. They really haven't needed him or Brown to go for 40. I mean, I think Brown did. I think Tatum's had a couple 30-plus games, but Brown, I think, had a 40-point game last round. But no, if you got two top 15 guys and then a top 15 guy and a top 7 guy, top 10, wherever you want to put Tatum right now, top borderline top 5, regardless. Like that's way more than enough, especially when you got the starting lineup you do that fit seamlessly. Um, I've been saying this all along. Like that's completely fine. It just all depends on if those guys can play together, if they fit together. Does the fit exceed the talent? Uh, because you got guys like um, the Clippers, or you got guys like when James Harden was on the Sixers, like the injury factor, and the Phoenix Suns, the injury factor. You got a relatively knock on wood guys that have been healthy. You're catching them at their perfect health stages too. So
But
yes,
even with Porzingis out, they look
they
good.
need it. They need both Tatum and Brown to be healthy. Like I mean, to survive. I think they probably would have lost last night's game, say one of them went down. But
Yeah,
like
well,
if
any team needs
if
their
two
top two guys.
no, yes, but if you lose two of those other guys, if you lose two of those other guys, they could still win. Like that's what I'm saying. Where Philly doesn't have the team where they could lose other guys and still win. Phoenix, I mean, you need like Beal or if Beal went down, they still would struggle, even though he wasn't that great in general. If uh, the Clippers, if they lost Norman Powell, I'll
Dude,
go back to that
that
conversation.
would
But
not affect them at all.
come on, I mean, I think they
You and this,
say Kawhi was healthy
you
and no
and this,
Norman Powell.
this
Um,
Norm love
okay, take out
affair.
Zubac, take out Zuby.
A good center, a good starter.
Right. Oh
Yeah,
my God, Norman's not good. All right,
he
only 6 man of the year.
uh, points are not everything,
Nas
man. And
Reed. Don't diss on Nas Reed like that.
Naz Reid is more than just a scorer. He's not as bad of a defender as Norm is.
But
So,
the goal of the game
and
is
the
to
the
get
versatility he
the
brings to his
best talent.
position. You kill me with the Norm stuff, man. We
Get the
can't. We'll
best
harp on
talent you
this
can.
forever.
Exceed the fit. Celtics are doing all those things right now. Like they're checking all the boxes when they built this team. So hopefully they can stick together and they can go on a big run because this team is built to win. As Tatum and Brown, I think they both can get a little better even.
Yeah,
That's
they're
about
young.
it. They don't have anybody else on the team that can get much better. I'll tell you that. So
Hey, maybe
Drew Holiday's
The Derek White leap is coming into
is
stardom.
coming next year.
The Sam Hauser leap is coming. All right. Well, that's enough yapping from us. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back after game 4. Thank you for listening to all things NBA from A to Z. Peace out. Like, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Catch you next time.